prophecy has come to pass, that there would come to us a chosen one, and that he himself would be an artisan and a skilled maker of toys. From this day on, now and forever, you will bring our gifts to all the children in all the world. This is your legacy and your gift, as is the gift of flight.
It's them!
Every year, the magic happens again.
Merry Christmas! It certainly should be.
Until now.
What are you? I'm an elf. An elf? Yes. You mean like a fairy?
I mean, I'm talking modern methods of production here. I'm talking assembly line. I'm talking wave of the future.
Now someone wants to take the magic out of Christmas.
We say bigger, better. It's going to cost you.
Cost? Cost who?
The people who buy the toy.
Well, nothing. We're going to give them away free.
What, free?
Well, that's how we do it at the North Pole.
Well, that's not how we do it here. Santa Claus is finished.
I just wanted him to see what a good assistant I could be.
Only one man can stop him. Only one man can help us. And he's coming to take you for a sleigh ride in the stars. Alexander Salkind presents Dudley Moore and John Lithgow. The legend comes to life for the very first time. With all the magic, all the adventure, all the wonder. Santa Claus, the movie. Seeing is believing. An Alexander and Ilya Salkind production.
Hey everyone, Bart here with Tully Television, and I want to thank you all for stopping by, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that beautiful YouTube stuff. But if I've yet to earn that subscription, I hope that today is the day. Now to continue with our holiday blast from the past, our holiday versions of virtual blasts that we do here on the channel. We are going to do the Santa Claus story today, the Santa Claus movie from 1985, starring Dudley Moore as Patch, John Lithgow as BZ, David Huddleston as Santa, Burgess Meredith as the Ancient Elf, Judy Cornwell as Anya Claus, Carrie K. Haim as Cornelia, and Christian Fitzpatrick as Joe. There were some songs that was associated with this movie. Every Christmas Eve, Making Toys, It's Christmas Again, Patch Snatch, and Thank You Santa, all by Henry Mancini and Leslie Brigeis. Made $23 million in the box office. That's equivalent to $55 million today in 2022. Now, this movie I slightly remembered as I was watching it. This is actually a Smokey Bishop pick that we're doing. I realized even after I watched this movie that the only memory I have of this movie is seeing commercials on it for Channel 11, where I grew up in New York. But I never actually seen the movie. The movie basically tells the story of Santa Claus and Anya Claus, his wife, coming across the North Pole and being the chosen one known as Santa Claus. He meets the elves, the other reindeer. He happens to come across the North Pole as he was bringing toys to some children in a small village. And as he was going to another village that was bordering the woods, him and Mrs. Claus and the two reindeer that he had got stuck in the snow and was discovered by the elves of the North Pole. What I think happened, I have a little theory to this, is that Santa and his wife and the two reindeer at that moment passed away. And it's their spirits that are now living, their spirits manifested into physical entities, and that magic that the elves have help keep their souls and the Claus' souls in the North Pole, and the magic by extension is given to Santa to go across the planet, because they even mention how he has the power of time on his side. That's always been a big thing, and they show how the toys are made, they show where the elves live, but there's this one elf by the name of Patch that's played by Dudley Moore. He was a big comedic actor back in the day. He's played in such movies as Arthur. There's this one movie he did with Kirk Cameron, Like Father, Like Son, which it's a Freaky Friday, but with a father and son. Meaning that they switch places, the kid becomes the responsible one, and the father becomes the irresponsible teenager. Oh! But I digress. Let's get back to the Santa Claus movie. We see a young girl also in this movie who is homeschooled, lives in a rich house. She becomes friends with a homeless boy by the name of Joe, and together they discover a plan by Cornelia's uncle to ruin Christmas due to the fact of him being manipulated. He's manipulating Patch the elf. The reason why Patch the elf is now in New York, I'm assuming New York City in 1985, is that there was a competition, a contest to become Santa's assistant, and Patch, having all these wonderful ideas, thought that he could improve Santa's workshop by making an assembly line. But that didn't seem to work out too well, and he took the hit really bad and decided to leave the North Pole and make his own path in the world. And with some of the magic powder that he has, he helped create a lollipop with the uncle who owns the toy stores here. He's a toy maker and is a horrible toy maker. BZ is that our first introduction to him is being questioned about shoddy toys that can catch on fire or break apart easily. So when he finally believes Patch's story, they create this lollipop in which that if you eat it, whoever eats it can float for a little while. And BZ, I'm making sure I'm not saying DZ, BZ decides that he wants to use a more powerful version of the potion in a different form, like candy canes, to be able to make children fly. But what they soon discover, or at least BZ discovers with his assistant, is that once these candy canes get heated up, they will explode because of the amount of magical powder in them, and they need cold. Whatever's affecting the magical potion, it needs to be in a cold environment. And once it reaches a certain level, it explodes. But Patch is not sure. Patch did not realize that. And then when Joe and Cornelia hear the plan. Joe gets captured, and Cornelia writes a letter to Santa Claus warning him of the plot and how Joe is in trouble. Joe comes to help. Joe comes. Santa Claus comes to help Joe. In the meantime, Patch discovers Joe tied down near the furnace where he stays, and finally learns of the horrible plans laid out by BZ. So basically, Patch, Santa, Joe, and Cornelia all team up to take down BC and his not nice business practices. How dare you want to blow kids up? Yeah. Also, near the end, there was two reindeer that were under the weather, had the flu, and so it made the chase a little bit more difficult. It was, more drama-inducing. They finally were able to do this nifty little reindeer sleigh trick that Santa was telling Joe about earlier on when they first met. He was giving them a tour of the city and what he can do with his magic. Again, beating BZ. Cornelia and Joe wind up living with Santa and Mrs. Claus and the elves in the North Pole. And one of the final scenes is BZ floating in space because of Patch made like a sleigh of himself, so to speak, like a rocket sled. And BZ was finally got himself onto that. And when it blew up, it blew him into space. And he just goes floating into space. John Lithgow is a great character. The guy that's played Santa is a classic character too, Dudley Moore. I'm sure I've seen Mrs. Claus in other movies before. The actress who plays Mrs. Claus. I've also seen the character Mrs. Claus in different movies. But the cast to this really seemed to be genuinely happy to make this movie. If there were any problems behind the scenes with the cast, it didn't come out on film. Even the kids, sometimes with kids you can get a iffy 50-50 type of performance for them. The kids did pretty well. The reindeers were kind of cool, and what is that? Like animatronic, some of them were in certain scenes, and that was pretty cool. There wasn't so many special effects that we used, but for 1985, for what they did do, it was fine. It didn't look... it's going to look cheesy 40 years later, but if you put your mind to 1985 and the type of effects that they had available, and it was really simplistic. They made the elf dust glitter and what have you, but it was really okay effects, great acting, great story. It really hits you in your heart box, and it really gets you ready for Christmas. So don't make the same mistake I made by bypassing this movie this holiday season. I want you to check out Santa Claus from 1985, starring Dudley Moore. This movie is, in my eyes, after watching it the first time, definitely worth keeping in your holiday rotation every year to throw on even in the back as you're having guests or you're putting up decorations. It's nice. It's just a really sweet movie. I recommend it. It's certainly up there. 8 out of 10 for sure. There's really nothing to really nitpick about, even it being a kids movie, so to speak, or a family movie. I've sat there and watched it, and I was fine. Like, I didn't feel like weird watching it or anything like that. It's a sweet movie. But Santa Claus 1985, definitely worth the watch. And we'll catch you next time We don't know what holiday special we're going to be coming out with next, or holiday video, but so far we've got Rudolph up, we got Frosty the Snowman up, and now this. So maybe we'll throw up another one or two in the meantime, but until next time, Merry Christmas!
In a distant land, Santa's elves are especially busy making you something special. A stuffed reindeer ornament just like the reindeer in the new motion picture Santa Claus the Movie.
Good likeness.
And it's free when you buy a $5 book of McDonald's gift certificates. So put plenty of both on your Christmas list. McDonald's gift certificates and free reindeer ornaments. Seeing is believing.